Today finds us at the Kennedy Space Center, where we expect to take a tour of the facilities and to go to the museum and see the exhibits here today in wonderful Cape Canaveral, Florida. This is the Saturn 1B rocket with a more powerful upper stage. It was designed to carry the command and service module and the lunar module. However, the Saturn 1 rocket never launched astronauts to the moon. For that, they used the more powerful Saturn V rocket. The Apollo 5 rocket can be viewed in my separate video on the Apollo Saturn V Center. The bus route travels past the Vehicle Assembly Building and out to the Launch Complex 39, from which Apollo, Skylab, and the Space Shuttle programs were launched. So this is the Vehicle Assembly Building that we're approaching.
The sheer scale of this building is hard to grasp, even when you're right next to it.
Do you ever feel really small when you think about space? What about when you're standing next to a skyscraper or a really big bridge? Well, I feel about as small as an ant right now.
Launch System, or SLS. Lockheed Martin has developed a capsule called Orion that will sit atop the SLS rocket. This capsule is designed to facilitate human exploration of the moon and eventually Mars. The first flown Orion capsule from Exploration Flight Test 1, EFT-1, sits inside the NASA Now exhibit at the Visitor Complex. This uncrewed test flight launched atop the Delta IV Heavy rocket in 2014. The 4.5-hour flight took the spacecraft around the Earth 2 times before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean, where it was recovered and eventually brought back to KSC. Just outside of the VAB, you'll see the Launch Abort System, designed to fit atop the Orion capsule, which will be tested in 2019. If anything goes wrong during launch, the Launch Abort System will quickly pull the capsule away from the rocket below with abort motors that produce 400,000 pounds of thrust, enough to lift 10 buses, just like this bus. The construction of the VAB required 65,000 cubic yards of concrete, 45,000 steel beams, 1 million steel bolts, amounting to almost 100,000 tons of steel. Notice the flag painted on the outside of the VAB? It's the size of a 21-story building. The blue section alone is the size of an NBA basketball court. Each star is 6 feet across, and each red and white stripe is wide enough for this bus to drive down. And the entire VAB? It's so huge that the Roman Colosseum would fit on the roof with room to spare for a parking lot.
Engines that can carry the crawler up to a top speed of, wait for it, 1 mile per hour while carrying a rocket. Keep an eye out for the crawler as we approach this area. And remember, we are visiting a working spaceport, so while the crawler may not stay in one area for very long, it's bound to be out here somewhere. Now, let me introduce you to my friend John Giles, the crawler project manager.
I'm standing in front of crawler transporter number 2 at Kennedy Space Center. Crawler transporter number 2 will be used for the SLS program to take the launch vehicle back and forth to the pad. We will begin by going underneath the mobile launcher. We'll pick it up.
There's a second cab on the back right corner of the crawler opposite, because you don't want to have to drive a big rig like that one in reverse. Each one of those rusty colored cleats on its track weighs over 1 ton, times 57 cleats per track, times 8 tracks. That's over 1 million pounds just in the shoes. So if you're curious what kind of mileage something like that gets, the answer is 32 feet per gallon of diesel fuel. Where the crawler has done that very thing and then has left those furrows. Well, now that traffic's cleared a little bit, I'm going to drive you across the crawler way, and if you look off the left side of the bus, this will give you a better idea how big the crawler transporter is, because it goes from that first set of tracks spanning over this grassy median all the way to the second set of tracks. So it uses both of these rockets.
39A is where Americans are going to return to space launching from Earth. So we're going to launch American crew members on the Dragon, on top of the Falcon 9. What's pretty exciting about this place is this place gives SpaceX room to grow. We can put some amazing big rockets on this pad.
They get their rockets that will launch from this launch pad ready in this building coming up on the left side, and they do so in the horizontal fashion, which was what John Murator was talking about. As we make this turn, if you look off the left side of the bus,
The Launch Complex 39B was first used about 50 years ago for the Saturn V rocket and the Apollo moon mission. Later it was used for 3 Skylab crews and 50 space shuttle flights. At present, it is being revamped to support the launch of the agency's Space Launch System rocket for deep space missions to the Moon and Mars.